members of the Nairobi City County. It's really my pleasure to be here. I wanted to be here at 8, but I was told I wait until everybody has come in, because this was an important date and calendar when we met on the 20th. And I think the resolutions that we read on that day have been read. Like the first one was the signing of the agreement with Kara. I think that was done on the 20th. The second item was there's Kara be represented in the various committees, more particularly in the planning committee. And I'm happy to report that Kara presented the name and the appointment has been made of David Iluve Kathiake as the representative of Kara in our planning committee. David, could you just stand up, please? And if you could just come over and introduce yourself properly, so that they can know you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It's my honor and pleasure to really talk beside you over this issue. My name is Architect David Kathiake. For my sins, I continue also to teach urban planning and architecture at Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. Thank you, and I am a full member of Kara. Pleasure, Your Excellency.
David, thank you very much. And I think that was the second of the actions that you'd agreed, and as you can see, it's been implemented. I mean, David joins other professionals from the Architectural Association of Kenya, from the Kenya Institute of Engineers, who will be responsible for ensuring that if issues you've raised are not being attended to, being independent members of these planning committees will take them up. And if need be, even before we have another meeting, they'll come and discuss with me. The other area was in the Liquor Licensing Board, and because this was an act, it required an amendment. The amendments have been done and are awaiting approval by by our county. So this is the Liquor Licensing Act is being amended so that it can have a representative from Kara, and our legal counsel, Gad, could you just confirm that that's correct?
I wish to confirm, Your Excellency, and of course to the honorable members of Kara, that we have prepared the necessary amendment to include the representation of the residents' associations in the liquor boards, in the various sub-county committees, and it is before the Assembly. We hope that before they adjourn for the elections, they will have enacted it into law so that we can implement August going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I think this is really important, more particularly the Liquor Licensing Act, because they are the ones who are responsible with the licensing, the bars and alcoholic beverages outlets. And of course, when we met the last time, there was a complaint that too many of them are being licensed. And this is exposing our children and the youth inadvertently to substances of abuse. So I think that your representation in the sub-county and the sub-county licensing board would be very, very, very important. I'll come back to the issue of alcohol abuse and drug abuse within the city when I'm making my final comments. The third was we would enter into recognition agreements with residents' associations, and I'd like to confirm we've already signed with Karen, we've signed with Runda, and after that do we have anybody from Karen? Runda? Yes, I'm sure you can confirm that we've signed with you. We thought that the chairman, obviously coming from Loresho, would Loresho would be one of the first ones we would sign with, but chairman, we are still waiting for Loresho to come so that we can sign. I know we've had discussions with residents association in South Sea, and we had a meeting in South Sea, and the chair from South Sea. Yes, she's here. She can confirm we had a meeting I went there myself, and we addressed even some of the issues that are going to be discussed here. She'll confirm we discussed, and some of them have already been addressed, like issues of land grabbing, issues of constructions without proper approvals. We met the 7 residents associations in Roysambu. Anybody from Roysambu? Yeah? You can confirm that we met. Yeah. We had a lovely meeting, and some of the actions were done more or less immediately.
I confirm, the Excellency, that we came to Roysambu. We had a very good interaction.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
And we've met some sub-associations in Langata. We met some associations in Komarok, especially Zone 58, behind Umoja 2. We met some of the associations in Kasarani. We've met the associations in Kitusuru, where there was a mall that was going to be built in a very, very inappropriate area. Anybody from Kitusuru? I believe they can confirm that. You're from Governor Mdogo? Asante. Yeah, in Kitusuru, we had that meeting, and that was stopped. On Peponi Road, some hotel was being built, which so we've had various meetings, and apart from that, we've been looking at the specific issues that have been raised with respect to roads. We worked with the Residents Association in Buruburu. Anybody from Buruburu? And we did remove, we are in a continuous fight in terms of removing illegal structures, which will continue. But I must say that you'll also agree with me that at this particular time, with elections coming in 2 months, probably fighting on some of these issues will be a little bit difficult, because as a county government, we take one stand. We also agreed that the representation of Kara in the Nairobi Water Company, we are revising the articles and memos of Association of Nairobi Water that will pave way for that. I think today, before we leave, we should be able to set up a committee that will, between Kara and Nairobi City County, so that if there are any emerging issues, it doesn't have to wait until the quarterly meeting, as we'll have agreed. And we agreed that we'd go through some of the very, very specific issues which we'll go through after this. What I'd like to probably say is that I think we've come a long way, this being the second meeting. They say that all great journeys start with a single step. And this single step that we have started to meet, we agreed we'd meet today on the 20th. And when the CEO was talking, he was saying, no, I think it was the chairman who said that we'll have elections. Whether I'm in office or not, the office of the governor will be there. So this engagement should continue. And to that end, I'm giving you the next day for the meeting, which I hope to attend. Tuesday, the 19th of September. It is a date that I intend to keep, and I'll be here to address you. But on the unfortunate event that I'm not there, I think what is important is institutionalization of the relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been in office for the last 4 years, and a lot has happened in the last 4 years. In February this year, we were voted, Nairobi was voted as number 10 in the world in the Cities Momentum Index. I'm sure all of you read about it. In December, Nairobi was voted as the 3rd most desirable city to visit in the world based on measurements of last year. In August last year, Nairobi was voted as #1 in attracting, in growth of direct foreign investment. Actually, in terms of getting direct foreign investment, we've overtaken Johannesburg, we've overtaken Cape Town, we've overtaken Durban, and we've overtaken Cairo. So right now, I think we are ranging at 3.6, and we've seen some of the foreign companies, the ones that wanted to leave, are staying, and new ones have come both from the west and the east. And the other progress that we made, probably which is responsible for this foreign direct investment moving into Kenya, is ease of doing business. It's only last week that our automation program, the eGGPay, was voted probably one of the best innovations to be adopted by a public body. Right now, you can pay your rates, you can pay all your licenses, and you can pick and choose what you want. You don't have to pay for everything. And to that end, we've moved from what we were number 100. Kenya's moved, of course, driven on the back of Nairobi, from number 150 to number 94, all in a period of 3 years. And some of the things that most of the things they look at are well within the city, like our e-construction process, where you submit your projects or whatever your approvals you want online, and the engineer here will tell you, you don't have to come to City Hall. You do it online, you pay online, and if you have everything that you need, you get your approval within a month, as opposed to in the olden days when you used to take 1 year to 18 months. And I'm sure most of your association members can actually attest to that. Also, we, in terms of livability index, Nairobi has improved quite a lot. Of course, we cannot say we've not had our challenges. If you have 50 years of neglect, 50 years of neglect, you cannot correct it on one day. Currently, we are only getting half the water that we need because no investment was made. We produce 648,000 cubic meters of water per day. This has gone drastically. We're only getting 29% of that because of the recent drought. My colleagues from Nairobi Water probably will be talking that a little bit, they'll talk about that a little bit later. And in the last, by improving our efficiencies, we've improved this by close to 10%. And the Northern Collector Tunnel, and I'm sure you must have read it in the papers, the water which we're going to bring through a 2-meter wide tunnel from River Mathioya to Ndakaine, then finally to Nairobi. It was being opposed by some people, regional politics, but I think we overcame that. And that will give us about 150,000 cubic meters of water. That's still way below what we need. In the next, by the year 2020, we'll need 1.2 million cubic meters of water on a daily basis. But the bad news is we're not getting enough, but the good news is that we are doing something about it. What I can tell you, supplying water or stealing Nairobi water and supplying it with Bowsers is not going to resolve the Nairobi water problem. I know that you know what I mean. The issue of roads, you've seen what we've done from Dagoretti South to Dagoretti North to the missing links that we've done, the infrastructure we've done with lights, on health. I'm sure probably most of you, your wives, or if you're men, and if you're ladies, you never go to Pumwani. But these days, ladies have no problem going to Pumwani because children are not getting lost the way they used to before we came into the office. Yeah. So a lot of progress have been made. I'll tell you the challenges that we have. Population movement. Nairobi gets 800,000 people migrating into the city every year. Of the 1.2 million people who finish school, 800,000 come into Nairobi. There are not as many jobs because we only create 50,000 jobs per year. So job creation and youth engagement is still going to be an issue. And with this population going up, we've reduced crime considerably by our electronic surveillance system, by the lighting system, of course with cooperation with the national government. But there's now a threat, and I'm sure you must have read it, and Mr. Karakasha is here, will tell you, the emergence of extortionist gangs, the emergence of criminal gangs. You'll recall that Mungiki used to be a big menace. In the last 5 years, we got rid of Mungiki. But within this last week, the last 2-3 weeks or so, we've seen the potentiality of these gangs coming back, really on the back of politicians, more particularly those ones who want to be governors. And I can tell you it's not me. Yeah. You've had the gangs in Komorok, you have heard of the gangs in Kayole, and of late, and we are working on that, there's been a report, Bwana Karakasha, that at Tusker bus stop, the gangs are raising their heads and have started extorting you guys from the matatu industry. And this is something that we should never allow to happen. However, if there are certain things, mistakes that if we make and allow the potential promoters of those gangs to be in a position where they can protect them, then you'll have no choice but to contend with them. More particularly, since these guys at times say when the president and the vice president is away, they're the acting president. I'm just letting that sink. The other issue, and I mentioned that when I was talking, when I talked about your representation in the alcohol, liquor and licensing boards, is the issue of drugs and rampant use of alcohol. Just recently, I think a few years ago, when Saitoti was asked to name and he read it in Parliament, I don't have to tell you, you know which names were in the Hansard, whose names they were. Nobody has ever cleared, and this continues to be an issue. Just last week, the British Army destroyed a ship in the Indian Ocean off the Kenyan coast with drugs worth $180 million, making its way into the country, because we know for a long time Kenya has been the transit route for drugs. And this must be fought by residents, must be fought by the population, and because if we don't, the people will suffer, will be our children and our grandchildren. Last but not least, a city is not a city without order. And that's what we've tried to do. Bring order into planning, bring order into the management of city affairs, bring order into the way we do things. And I believe we are getting somewhere, because when you're in a hole, you stop digging. We stopped digging that hole of disorder and disorderliness. And the foundation that we've laid, we are in a position where Nairobi can take off. And the evidence of those international accolades is the evidence that what we do, even if it's not recognized by people who live here because they see it every day, so they become immune and used to it, the people outside can actually see that something is happening in Nairobi.
Burning question or comment that you'd like to make before the governor excuses himself at the top of the hour? This is the time. I'll take 3.
In our last meeting in February, we were given people who were supposed to follow up on some of the issues that we had in our estates. These are issues that go way back to 2013. We've been carrying these files and we're not getting any answers. We met with these people and nothing has been done so far. That is on service delivery. And we also talked to the director of Nairobi Water Company, Mr. Gishuki. He was here on that day. And he agreed that he's going to look at how and why we in Kangemi and Mountain View are getting water, not even now that we have the rationing and all that. Mountain View gets water once a week since time immemorial. So we wanted to be explained to why we are not getting water. And still, to date, nothing has happened. So we are wondering, if this is service delivery and we are following up on service delivery, ambitious plans are good. But how about the basic services that we're supposed to be getting every other day?
Right,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Timothy Maina from Ngei Phase 1 Residents Association in Langata. The key thing or question I'd like to address to His Excellency is, why does it seem that the county government cannot implement its own directives? An example is, we have had an issue with this proliferation of container kiosks in public land. We've had several meetings with your CECs, and even action was taken, and like a particular case of a TOL being cancelled, but the county government is unable to implement the directive, and we've been taken around different departments, so we wonder how this is supposed to be happening. Thank you.
First of all, is a comment to congratulate you and your government that you have kept your word that for this meeting you promised and you're here today. Thank you so much. And thereafter, in the spirit of devolution, you followed up to the sub-county level. Like I have confirmed that he came to Roysabu. And I must say it was very effective, Your Excellency, because many of the issues we particularly raised that time, they have been addressed. You have a very, very effective sub-county government, administration in Roysambu. We in Muthaiga North, where I come from, my name is Madara Mwangi. We are very happy with the government, the way they've been effective in the issues that have been raised. I have 3 comments to make. One is, we as members of CARA, in our last meeting, we made suggestions that maybe you could involve the resident associations in rates correction, because the outreach, in as far as the county government is concerned, would be very much, and of course that will increase the revenue correction with the county government. So we trust that you and your able government are going to come up with such arrangements whereby you can involve the associations. With that is the area of collaboration. Number 2, we in Muthaiga North, I host one of your water reservoirs. And therefore, I would want you to comment on, you commented on water issue and the plans that you have, long-term plans. Is the issue of water that serious? Because currently, for the last fortnight, we have had a problem with water in Muthaiga North. We are hosting one of the reservoirs, and it's only last Sunday, water trickled down to homesteads, where we have about 22 courts and about over 800 families. And in fact, water was supplied for 1 or 2 hours, and the pressure was just too low. Let us know how serious is the water issue currently. Lastly, this should go to one of the cabinet ministers, Mr. Kayemba. I raised the issue last time, if you remember, even in Roysambu, about the zone off areas. Like Muthaiga North is zoned off for half-acre development. And more seriously, the issue of CARA being represented in this planning approval committee is very important, so as we can curb this issue of rat grabbing and legal approvals. Mr. Kayemba, I've recently again seen people advertising for quarter-acre sale of quarter-acre in Muthaiga North. As a chairman, I really don't want to have conflicts with my members and residents, but through your government, some of these things should be addressed from your office, and we do not want to look at it as if some people from the office of the county government are contravening, or rather, misusing those powers. So please check on that, so as we do not have conflict with our members, so as we contain and maintain the standards that we have in Muthaiga North. But Mr. Kayemba, if you give an appointment, I have to now to deliver to you all the AR numbers that have been subdivided into quarter acres, and we make the exact action. So thank you so much. But Your Excellency, allow me to comment that we have a proverb in Kikuyu that says maybe one of your members, Mr. Inaina, can interpret you modo akagirwo na mitiri etwirire. These are political this for your political aspirations. Direct interpretation is that your own house is put up by that wood or timber you have brought up yourself. And therefore, members, we as current residents and association members here today, we have seen the video, we have heard the governor talk, so let us make the right choices. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think the issue of service provision is a thorny issue in that, I mean, we expect everything to work like yesterday, but we know life probably is not like that. But I guess what is important, the issue that Nancy has raised is we now have a platform where we can raise issues, where we can discuss. Probably it takes a little bit longer, but the way we said, mbali tunatoka, mbali tunaenda, tuajitahidi, tutafika. The issue of water, the statistics I gave you shows you how acute it is. If our requirement is about 800,000 cubic meters, currently 30% of 600 is 200,000 cubic meters. We lose 40% in what you call non-revenue water. So what's available is only 100,000 cubic meters, as opposed to what this city requires today of 800,000 cubic meters. But that's, I mean, that's not to say you shouldn't get what you need and what you deserve. And I think my colleagues from Nairobi Water, we were here the last time. If you could take those two issues, because they've been raised both by Nancy and Mr. Mwangi. Timothy from GAIF is one. Land, the law is very clear, it's supposed to be the county government, but national government, through the provincial administration, also keep dipping their hand into the jar. And that's where the conflict is, where we are supposed to control the developments. And more particularly, I mean, you know, kiosks cannot be approved because they are non-permanent structures, or where we have the TOLs, we disapprove or remove some. The following day, you find the DC and the chief have put their own kiosks. So it's always been push and pull. And in certain cases, people have gone to court. I'm sure you had my comments the other day when I was, when buildings have been done and they don't even deserve. One in particular is the people in Langata Road. I know, Timothy, you, by opposite the Team Wall, you keep on wondering why that building is there. It's been, we've marked it and we would like to pull it down, but it's the court. So certain cases, will be they permanent or even temporary buildings. Those who are in town will recall when the slip road on Moi Avenue next to the bank was infiltrated by tents. You couldn't park because all the parking lots were taken by tents. And these guys had the audacity to go to court, and they got court orders, and we could not remove those tents until it came to a point where I said, because they put their tents directly opposite the vault of KCB, and the banks were, and the court was saying you cannot remove them. It forced us to now get our guys to dress in chokora clothes to go and remove them, so that we are not cited for contempt of court. What Mr. Mwangi in Muthaiga North has raised in terms of our planning and zonal designations, I think that must be obeyed. Even if there are people who work for City Hall, tell me who they are and they'll be fired, because we cannot be putting regulations, and we are the very first ones to violate them. The Kikuyu proverb you said, I think I'll try and get it, write it for me. But I'll also say another one, and I think all of us here have families. We have children, some of us have grandchildren, we have brothers, and we have sisters. and not pretend, sometimes you go on a trip, isn't it? And you'd leave probably your neighbor or your friend. They say, every so often, could you oversee, just see what is happening with my family when I'm away, is it? Assume you have two neighbors, Dr. Kidero, and those others. Who do you leave the care of your family to? And if you can't leave the care of your family to them and leave it with Kidero, why wouldn't you let Kidero determine the future of your family and children? Thank you.